Welcome to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast, a relaxing and informative show where we explore anxiety, panic, and PTSD, sharing how you can overcome them for life.
Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I am so happy to be with you again today as together we can consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. We offer a number of ways to help you with your journey here at Anxiety Coaches Podcast, and I hope you will take advantage of everything that we offer. Be sure to subscribe to this twice-a-week podcast. I'd also suggest visiting our website where you can sign up for our newsletter, you can listen to the 10-minute body scan meditation, and check out the group and one-on-one coaching options, along with the resources and more information on anxiety. Go to anxietycoachespodcast.com and check all that out today. In today's episode, I want to be right direct and talk about what is depression. I get a lot of questions about the difference between depression and anxiety, and I know there are other podcasts where we have covered that. And today I want to talk a little bit deeper about what depression is. So actually, the more people you ask about depression, you'll get a lot of different answers, a variety of answers. Depression is a very personal experience that millions of people all over the world have experienced. So it does get very personal, but there are some things that can clue us in as to the commonalities in depression. Different people manifest different symptoms, but one thing is certain, and that is that depression is a difficult illness that can feel overwhelming. And so many people with depression describe it as a sense of despair that engulfs everything that they do and everything they feel. If you think being depressed is akin to feeling sad, like over a sporting event or something happening in your life, this is not the same. Suffering with true depression is very deep, and it's more invasive than feelings of sadness or frustration. People describe it as depression taking everything away from you, sapping your energy, your focus, concentration, and even your joy. You just don't care about things. Nothing matters, and even the people you love the most start to become unimportant. If you're depressed for a long period of time, you start to become accustomed to the feeling, and other emotions become unfamiliar to you because we sink so deeply into the singular feeling, the depression. So it becomes frightening because that's all that you can feel. So there are some physical concerns that come up with depression also. Depression is not just taking a toll on your emotions and your mental state, but it can cause physical problems as well. You can lose your appetite. We see this happen very often. Depression that can come after a long illness, or depression that can come from a life circumstance, whatever. The depression in and of itself becomes physically an issue by the loss of appetite, and many people lose a lot of weight and are unable to even get their appetite back again. So this is a physical issue then that needs to be handled on top of the emotional and mental state. And the reverse is true also. Many people become compulsive eaters over depression. It seems like it fills them up momentarily, and they become habitual overeaters. So either way, there is a new physical problem that has entered from the depression itself. And so depression takes not only your energy, but your motivation. So often you are not even concerned about what you should be doing or what to do next. When you're depressed, you tend to become less active. And again, this can cause a number of problems. But when added to some of the other physical side effects of depression, it's easy to see why depression can become a serious illness. Now, speaking of depression, I want to actually talk about today's sponsor, BetterHelp, because BetterHelp can be very, very much the corner that you need to look around for help with depression. Many clients that I have and group members and listeners that write into me have a coach and a therapist. The anxiety coaching is very different than going into therapy for depression. So BetterHelp online counseling can really be there for you if you are looking for a therapist. You can get help on your own time and at your own pace. You schedule secure video or phone sessions, plus you can chat and text with your therapist. This can be so helpful rather than waiting until trying to find someone in your own area. BetterHelp has over 3,000 licensed therapists across all 50 states. They can help you find the right person to work with you. They work with the depression, the stress, anxiety, relationships, trauma, anger, grief, and so on. And anything you share with them, of course, is confidential. It's available worldwide, so no matter where you are, you can check in with BetterHelp and find a therapist. Again, you can communicate through text and chat, phone, and video. It's secure, convenient, professional, and it's affordable. And for you, my listeners, it's truly affordable option. The Anxiety Coaches Podcast listeners get 10% off your first month with discount code ACP. So why not get started today? Go to betterhelp.com/ACP. Simply fill out the questionnaire to help them assess your needs and get matched with a counselor you'll love. Again, that's betterhelp.com/ACP, and that link will be in the show notes for your convenience. Some other ways that we can see how depression manifests itself is a lack of sleep. Often depression can cause insomnia, which strips the body of necessary sleep to function properly. Poor nutrition, like we just mentioned. When we're depressed, many fail to take in proper nutrients. There's just not the energy or the motivation to make that happen. It takes too much effort to plan and prepare the meals. This can, of course, cause several health problems. Aches and pains. If anyone tells you that your mental state has no effect on your physical state, boy, they have not been in these anxiety or depression circles. When you're depressed, the chemicals in the brain that signal pain are as affected as the chemicals in your brain that help you feel happy. Physical aches and pains are increased, which in turn kicks in the sad feelings, and the cycle begins again. Hygiene issues. Often people suffering from depression don't have the energy or the motivation to be concerned with self-care. So, what are some of the symptoms of depression? Remember, you can have depression alone, you can have anxiety alone, or you can have anxiety and depression together. Often, when people have struggled with anxiety for a long time and they become exhausted, they become depressed. There is that wave of lack of motivation and low motivation to do anything. So pay attention and see if some of these are happening with you. And especially remember, there's always help. This can all be dealt with, and that you are not alone. So here are some specific things that those with depression in particular experience. Constant and severe sadness about everything, hopelessness, insomnia or trouble sleeping, irritability, trouble concentrating, loss of interest in things that once interest you, feeling worthless, useless, and strangely guilty for no reason at all. Serious changes in weight one way or the other, lack of energy and fatigue. And one thing about depression is certain, is that it is a condition that should be taken seriously, and that there is treatment, there is hope, and many people in life, and I'm old enough to know, to have seen this not only through myself, but through many people that I love. Depression comes and it goes, and it can be dealt with. It's best if you get some help so that you don't slide too far down and not be able to have the motivation to keep yourself going. So it is a serious condition, and it is very treatable. There's total hope, and even left untreated, often depression fades. This has been shown. But there's no reason to do it alone. You can reach out for help, get a coach, get a therapist, talk to your clergy, tell your family you're struggling, because there are many things that we can do, as we have talked about here in the past, to lift the mood, to keep motivation strong, and to remember that we can do this. So don't do this alone. Be sure to reach out. As depression progresses, it can feel like a snowball rolling down the hill. The longer someone is depressed, the worse the depression can get, until they feel like there's no way out of it. You can become resigned to feeling miserable all the time, and it doesn't need to be that way. Depression is very treatable, and so it's good to know that. Keep that glimmer of hope alive and know, okay, I think I'm really slipping down here, or this snowball is really beginning to roll downhill. I think it's time for me to seek help with this in many different possible ways. Depression can be caused by a particular event, the change in the seasons. We have talked about SAD here before, a loss of someone close to you, and even, illnesses that have gone awry and you are unable to cope any longer. So there's many different reasons we can become depressed, but the treatment for depression usually involves keeping the hope alive, keeping your options open, knowing that you are not alone, and that actually depression is a part of being human. We can go through these tough things in life, and they may take us down, and we may have a journey through depression, just as we here are having a journey through anxiety. It isn't the end. It can be treated and dealt with. So if you know someone who's depressed, because you may just be struggling with anxiety, just anxiety, I know, it is a big enough deal on its own. And like I said earlier, if you are struggling with anxiety long enough, you can become exhausted and begin to have some of the depression symptoms. So if you know someone who is depressed, the best thing you can do is to be a friend to them. Be open. Be compassionate with them. Talk with them and help them through this period. And ask them if they would like to seek some extra care through a therapist or the clergy or someone close in their life that is familiar with these things. But do stay close with them. Let them talk. Just be loving toward them. Often that's all we want when we're depressed, is just someone to care. If you think you may be depressed, and you can talk to your healthcare provider, you can get a therapist, whether in your hometown or online. Depression doesn't have to take you down. Like I said, it's part of the human condition. So you need some help maybe and some support. And you can do this. You can conquer this depression and move past it and go on to live a joyful life. That's it for today's episode. And before I read today's quote, I want to put out a personal invitation to those of you who would like to take your healing and your clearing of your anxiety panic to another level. If you are not someone who wants to join a group coaching program, you may be interested in joining in with me on Coaching One-on-One. You can learn more about that at the website, anxietycoachespodcast.com, and go to the one-on-one coaching page. Feel free to send me an email, anxietycoachespodcast@gmail.com, with coaching in the subject, and I'll be sure to get back with you, and we'll take it from there. No need to have this drag on forever. And now for today's quote. In the middle of winter, I at last discovered that there was in me an invincible summer. And that's from Albert Camus. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. Find more information at theanxietycoachespodcast.com.